My colleague Mohan Sawhney and I at the Kellogg School of Management created the Innovation Radar based on a fundamental observation. Innovation is about a lot more than just products or technologies, but somehow that's always what comes to people's minds. So we noted that Starbucks got Americans to pay $4 for coffee and they didn't invent anything. So obviously they innovated. How did they innovate? It had to do with this Service Profits Chain Institute would talk about customer experience, for instance. They innovated on their locations, they innovated on the way they built their brand, etc. So we wanted a methodology that allowed us to organize all the things that companies do to add value in the market, and then allow us to think about how do we innovate? What are the opportunities for innovating along each of those dimensions? Not to suggest that we should innovate on all of them because your company will blow up. Not a good idea, but instead to be strategic about selecting the dimensions on which we should compete and then driving innovation in those directions. What's new about version 2.0 of the Radar is after about 6 years of working with the original version, we realized that there was a strong emergent competitive position for a number of companies, which has to do with partnership innovation or ecosystem innovation. And while all of these factors already existed in version 1.0, we decided to highlight them because they were becoming so important, really standing on a similar level with operational efficiency, customer intimacy, and product leadership. And so we reorganized the Radar in order to highlight these ecosystem and partnership innovation opportunities. Management teams can use the Radar in a number of ways. The most obvious is to open people's minds. So they recognize that it's not just those people over in the innovation department or R&D who are in charge of making new things happen. It really is everybody's job in a different way. So second, you can think about your objectives as a company to be competitive, to serve customers better than anybody else, to have a preferred position in the marketplace, and the Radar can help you choose your bets. The Radar can help you identify the dimensions on which you operate, whether that's branding or ecosystem or product leadership or customer experience or whatever that happens to be, and decide that we're going to focus our competitive energy in those directions and innovate in those directions, because strategy is as much about what you don't do as what you do. And you need to be deliberate about saying these are the dimensions we're going to focus on, and frankly these are the dimensions we're just going to be good enough at. The tickets to the ballpark, they're not going to win us the game. So these are critical conversations inside corporations because there are always fights for resources, there are always more opportunities to pursue than you can ever invest in. So we have to have good ways to prioritize those investments, to recognize how the innovation investments, the change that we're trying to create, will manifest as a competitive position for our business in the marketplace. Ultimately, the most powerful application of the Radar over the past decade has been aligning executive teams. A lot of times managers believe that they and their colleagues have the same perspective regarding how innovative the company is, or at least within the same ballpark. And often when they take the diagnostic, they find out that's not the case. There's a wide diversity of perspectives on how innovative we are in the marketplace with respect to supply chain or products or brands or whatever. And this allows us often for the first time to have a level-setting conversation, to say, first of all, where are we innovating? Do we have a common perspective on that? Usually not. Second, where should we be innovating? I'd say most important, where should we be innovating for the future?